Welcome to America Reads Fun Learning Activities. My name is Rena and I'm a student just like you. You're probably wondering who we are and what we do. We are college students who create learning activities for kids. Our fun activities are focused on reading, writing, and math. Thank you for joining us today. I am so excited you're here. Now, let's get your brain going.
Today, we will be understanding that words are separated by spaces. Okay, friends, let's get started. I will be teaching you about a learning tool we will need when writing. This tool will help us remember that words are separated by spaces in writing. That is really important we remember. Words are separated by spaces. What do we need to separate our words? Let me hear your answers. Spaces! Great job, friends. This tool will help us see that words are separated. Now let me clarify. Letters do not all need to have spaces between them. Only our special letters A and I, since they are also words. Only complete words need spaces between them, and that's special letters. If we didn't have spaces between our words, we wouldn't be able to read anything, and that's why spaces are so important. Spaces help us know we are moving from one word to another. Now let me show you our tool. This is Mr. Spaceman. He's an astronaut, but Spaceman is his nickname. Now Spaceman is going to help us make spaces. I know most of you won't have Mr. Spaceman, but you can use your 2 fingers and it'll do the job. So now that we know what our tool is, let's use it. When I'm writing, I have to create a space myself, right? This is where Spaceman helps me out. When I write one word down, I use Spaceman to help me separate the next word. Basically, my spaceman is going to stop between each of my words to help me remember to make a space after each word before I write another one down. Let's get started using our tool. Let's start with our first sentence. Our first sentence will be, I play softball. Now we can see our words here, right? Because I color-coded them. But it's still kind of hard to read. Why is that? Let me hear those answers. We have no spaces. So our sentence is hard to read. This is why spaces are so important. They help us distinct each word. I will write down I, and now I need another word. So I'm gonna put my spaceman down so I can write my next word. So spaceman. Now our next word was play. So let's write down our word play. Play. Now that we have play, now I need another word. So again, let's put spaceman down again. And so I can start writing my next word, softball. So space, and then softball. So now that we have our spaceman down and our words down, I have to end it with a period. We see the period? We don't need a spaceman there. When there's punctuation, we don't need space. Did you see how easy that was? For the next sentence, I want you to tell me how many spacemen will I need in each sentence. So for example, with the last sentence we used, I play softball. How many spacemen did I use? Let's count them. 1, 2. I needed 2 spacemen. And now remember, we didn't need a space in between our last word and our punctuation because we don't need a space, right? So now, this is what we're gonna do for our next ones. You're gonna tell me where we need a space, and then when we're all done, we're gonna count how many spaces we use. Here's our next sentence. I want cookies and milk. Again, I color-coded the words, that way it's easier for you guys to see. Now, what's missing again in this sentence? Spaces. It's kind of hard to read without spaces. So tell me, let's start from left to right where our spaceman will go. Let me hear those answers. Where's our first spaceman gonna be? Let me hear. After I is right. Now we know I is our first word. Now let's continue to add spaceman. Now that we have our spaceman after I, what is our next word? I want. So now we know we can write our want. So now, I want what do we need next? A space. So we're going to use another spaceman to separate our next word. That way we can tell we're going on and writing our next word. So our next word was cookies. So we're going to write cookies down in our sentence now. So now we have I want cookies. And it's a bit easier to read now that we can see the difference in our words. So after cookies, what do we need? We need another spaceman, right? So we're gonna add another spaceman. So now we know that we're done with this word and we're on to the next one. And our next word was and. So let's write down and. So now that we have our word and, what's the next thing we need to add? A space. So let's add our spaceman. Now we have our spaceman, and now we can move on to our next word, which was milk. So let's write down milk. Now our next sentence is, can I go to the zoo? Again, it's really hard to read since we have no spaces. So let's make our spaces after each word. So let's count how many spaces we'll need and where we'll need them. So our first word is can. So the next word is I. So we need a spaceman between can and I. And then another spaceman, where will we need it? After I, in between I and go. And then the next one between go and to. And then the next one between to and the. And lastly, our last spaceman will go between the and zoo. Correct, friends. So this is what our sentence will look like once we have all our spaces down. So I didn't add our spaceman down just because I want you to see how it looks in our regular form, how it should look without spacemen in the way. Do we see how it's much easier to read? Can I go to the zoo? It's so easy to read now. So our next sentence is, I won my soccer game. So now, for this one, I want you to completely do it on your own. You're just gonna tell me where I need to put a spaceman, and I'm gonna put him on top, where it should be, okay? So tell me, where should my first spaceman go? After what letter or word? After our first word, I. So we know we need to separate I won. So we're gonna put our spaceman right there. Now what about our next space? Where do we need our next space? Between one and my. So now we know we need to add another spaceman. And that way we also know that we're separating our two words. So it's easier to read, right? Okay, what about our next one? Where's our next spaceman going? Between my and soccer, right? That's where we need our next spaceman. So we know we need a space there. And now for our last space, where do we need it? I'm gonna give you a minute, but let me hear those answers. Let me hear, where do we need our last spaceman? After soccer, in between soccer and game. So now, tell me friends, how many spacemen did we use in total? How many did we need for this sentence? 1, 2, 3, 4. We needed a total of 4 spaces for our sentence here. And now, did we use a spaceman for the end between game and our exclamation mark? Do we need one? No, right? After punctuations, before punctuations, we don't need a spaceman. Remember that. So now for our next sentence, it's my mom made pizza. It's kind of hard to read still, right? We have no spaces. So now tell me, where will our spaces go? Let me hear those answers, friends. After my is gonna have a space between my and mom. we need to know that there's two different words. Great job, friends! So now let's move my over. Awesome. Let's add a space then. So now we see my and mom. So let's move mom down because we wrote it down already. We know we need that word. So now we know we need another space between mom and maid. These are two different words. They're two separate words. So now let's add a spaceman. So now we know we need a space between my and maid. Let's move this over. So now we can clearly see my mom made. And now for our last spaceman, where will it go? After maid. So now we can see that maid and pizza are two different words. We see how they're separated. Our spaces are being separated, right? My mom made pizza. Great job, friends! Well, my friends, that's all I have for you today. You guys did such a great job. Thank you for watching and learning with us today. Please feel free to comment and subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you soon.